Before we get started with the episode, Talk Music Talk has its very own app. That's right, it's free for iPhone and Android. When you subscribe, you get every single episode of the podcast. You get the back catalog, plus new shows will automatically appear in your feed when you subscribe. You can download shows for offline listening. You can also star your favorite episodes. You can share episodes on social media or email them directly through the app. It is in the iTunes Store, Google Play, Amazon App Store. It is free. Just search for Talk Music Talk. Once you subscribe, leave a rating and or review in the store to help spread the word about the podcast. And now for today's episode. Hello there, my friend. Welcome to another episode of Talk Music Talk with Boyce. This is Boyce, and this is my podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form discussions with people who are connected to music in some manner. A music journalist or a music therapist, musicians, singers, songwriters. And on episode number 90, I had the pleasure of speaking to Glas. Glas is the project of Joao Gonzalez, electronic producer and performer. I caught his performance last week at Come On Everybody in Brooklyn. Did an amazing set of his own, and then he backed the duo Chargo right afterwards. Check out their music also. He is electronic, yet organic. It is beautiful, yet there's this something extra there, a little bit of grit there that challenges you when you listen to his music. He is from a musical family. His mom was a music teacher. His dad is the pianist. And I hope I say this right, Gonzalo Rubalcaba. If I did not say that right, Joao says it correctly in the interview. Check out his dad's music. We talk about how Joao got into music production. It started with GarageBand. His early productions were more hip-hop influenced. We discuss his inspirations and how they opened him up and were a part of his evolution of his new sound. We talked about producing others like Chargo and also working on his own music as Soft Glass. After the interview, you are going to hear two songs from Soft Glass. You're going to hear Refrain from last year's EP, Dose, and Yosi from the forthcoming Late Bloom release coming out this year. This was one of those interviews that I had a vibe it was going to be good before it even happened. Sometimes I get that when I meet an artist beforehand. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a great conversation. And this one does not disappoint. I know you're going to enjoy it. Here it is, without further ado, my conversation with Soft Glass, Joao Gonzalez on Talk Music Talk. Enjoy. I like when there's a quick turnaround. Like I was looking at Chargo's Instagram, and then they had your link, and then I checked out because I'm always looking for people to interview. So I heard your music. Go to the show. 2 days later, we're sitting here.
Yeah. We were still kind of in the energy where like there's the hangover from the show. Yeah. So everything's still pretty
That was
fresh.
A great show, though.
Thank you.
Sure. How long does it take to put that together as yourself and then drummer, and what would he guitar /
like theremin, synth. Nate, he's a genius with that stuff. But that it usually takes a little longer when it has to do with when there's live musicians involved. Mm-hmm. But honestly, because they're so amazing, the actual rehearsing isn't the hard part. It's kind of just setting up all the stuff that the backing track stuff, figuring out what to take out, the sequencing, all of that, dealing with the stems, and that's what's a little more time consuming. Okay. But once we figured out how we wanted to do the show, it was just come over, play for like a couple hours, and then figure it out on stage.
So how much is improvised and pre-made?
It depends. We've gotten to a point where I've worked with those musicians before, and they're familiar with my music, and they're familiar with the vibe of the show. Okay. So it's gotten to a point where I kind of just loop certain sections, and we build, and when we feel like it's time to move on to the next idea. It is a lot of improv, but there's definitely a preset structure to it. But I like to have as much improv as possible. I wish I was better at playing the instruments so that there was like no backing tracks, but maybe one day.
That comes.
Yeah.
Okay. How did improvising become a part? Was that something like you have a history of improvising? Like, how did that come about?
I think it was always part of the musical language that I've been familiar with. I grew up in a musical family. My dad is a jazz musician. His dad was a jazz musician. His dad was a composer. So in my house growing up, that was almost like a given. That was just part of the language, The improv was just another aspect. It wasn't this foreign element that's like, oh my God, on the spot. It was just like part of music. So I always wanted to include that even in quote unquote electronic or whatever, however you want to classify, what we're doing now is I wanted to have that in the moment where each show is different. And, they're genuine moments of like musical interaction. So I guess it was never in question.
Okay, it's just a natural thing.
Right.
What was your first instrument?
I think drums.
Okay.
When I was like, my dad plays piano, and
who's amazing, by the way. I checked out his stuff.
Oh,
your dad's stuff.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, he's just ridiculous. But I think I wanted to avoid the pressure of playing piano and constantly being compared. So I've always gravitated towards the drums, and I think when I was like 12 or 13, I started taking it really, really seriously. And up until I was 18, that was the plan, was to be a jazz drummer. And then I got denied from music school, and then I was just like, oh, never mind. I don't want to do this. I'm like a weak-minded 17-year-old. So, and then like a year or two later, I found producing and composing and whatnot. So drums. As of recently, I've gotten more into the keys and more into guitar and stuff like that. And I feel stupid for never taking advantage of, being able to ask my dad if he could teach me some stuff. So now every time I go home, like, a few times a year, I try to cram in as much as I can.
Was he ever like, if you ever want to do piano?
Yeah.
I'm around.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was always very, very cautious. He made it a very strong point to never want to pressure any of his children into doing anything. So I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and we've naturally found the arts, but he never, ever was like, you guys should take lessons, you guys. So he was always very careful about that. He was always very open to help me if I ever had any questions, but he was never the one to, push me into anything. And I appreciate that, but I wish he would have. Sometimes I wish he wouldn't have been so careful.
So was there like a plan B when you didn't get into school for drums?
No.
Okay.
I mean, could you imagine? That's. It was just I was completely lost at that point.
Yeah.
My mom, her entire side of the family. My mom was a music teacher. Her entire side of the family are photographers, cinematographers.
Okay.
My dad's side is all musicians. So it was always like the writing was on the wall. It was like, all right, I'm going to be an artist. So what do I want to do in this art world? I chose the drums, and I never thought of anything else.
Yeah.
So when I didn't get in, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, I was just like, what now? I literally have never even contemplated being like a doctor or anything. It's just I didn't know what else there was. So I'm really, really glad I found production almost by accident. So
what happened after when you didn't get into school? What did you do next?
I went to a state university, and I didn't declare a major for my freshman year, and I just defiantly took music classes anyway, like general music classes.
Where was this at?
Florida State.
Okay.
So Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida, which is like, there is nothing there but universities.
Yeah.
So it's just a typical college town. And I just took a bunch of music classes, like music history, the basic, general music that I don't have to be a music major to be in.
Okay.
And just out of randomly opening up like GarageBand one day, because I wanted to play something I think it was a project for a class or something. and I was just like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then I found myself really, really enjoying it. And it was almost like the light bulb went off.
Okay.
It's like, duh, why don't I?
What were you doing on GarageBand? Like just making beats? And,
I was just making
samples. Or?
Yeah, I was making beats. I was making. It was for a project, and we had to make a song, and a lot of people so we had to perform a song in front of our class, and a lot of people just brought like a guitar or something, and I wanted to make a beat to play. I think I played like the acoustic guitar like every college freshman ever in the history. Yeah, exactly. So it was all it reignited that passion again, because I hadn't even picked up drumsticks, since I got denied.
Okay.
I quit.
Oh, really?
Which
Okay.
sucked. Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have, but so that was it was almost like a year after I got denied that I discovered the production side. So
okay, and was that, if you weren't majoring in anything specific, what else were you taking?
General classes.
Okay, just general.
It was just general classes. So they do this thing called exploratory. So you have your freshman year to take as many random classes as you want.
Okay.
To kind of figure out what you want to major in. I ended up majoring in psychology just because I had the credits, and it kind of came somewhat easy, and I wanted to stay in school and I wanted to get a degree just because I enjoyed having access to those resources, and I continue to take music classes. I think I ended up minoring in music just from credits alone, and so I definitely wanted to stay in school and take advantage of those resources.
Okay.
But it was weird. College was almost like a tool,
to get
as
to where
opposed
you.
to exactly.
Okay. Well, that's good to figure that out. Right?
Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, and I don't think my mom would have been cool with me dropping out of it.
Especially with no plan B.
Right, exactly. She's like, you're getting a degree and we'll figure it out afterwards. But
what was it about psychology you were attracted to?
I think it was really interesting to understand the why, the why we feel certain ways, the reason why we react to certain things certain ways.
Yeah.
And I think that actually has helped a lot in understanding, because as a musician you go through a lot emotionally, anxiety, depression, self-doubt, all these things, and it's really, I think I'm lucky to have kind of stumbled into psychology, because I can take a step back and see it for what it is and understand, like, okay, I'm feeling this way, and I know I'm feeling this way, and I know what I have to do to, get out of this.
Okay.
Because I studied the act of helping other people getting out of those things. So I think it did help in coping with this crazy roller coaster, and that was really attractive to me.
Okay. Because I don't think people talk about that enough. It was depression and all that stuff that musicians
But you talk to any artist, and 99.9% of them will tell you they've gone through all of that. And
it's hard.
Yeah.
As you can imagine me from interviewing different types of people. I mean, I've had people who, they stopped playing because something didn't happen, like what you said.
Right.
They stopped playing music because it didn't happen. But it's sort of like that. It's a calling.
Right.
And that you can't stop.
No, yeah. It's this sense of fulfillment that you can't really get from anything else for whatever reason. That's just how you're wired.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very, very difficult to. I think the reason why a lot of musicians and artists in general feel the way they do about, or feel anxiety, feel depression and whatnot, is because this profession has no roadmap.
Yes.
There's no structure. There's no intrinsic, way of doing things. It's just everyone's just figuring it out on the fly. Whereas other professions, going in, okay, I need to take 4 years of this. Then I'm going to get my master's, 4 more years. I'm going to, get my doctorate, 4 more years. I know exactly what I need to do to get where I need to be. And if you do that, you will get there.
Yeah.
You know, and there's none of that with artists in
it's
general.
so loose. Even if you're like you're the most talented,
Exactly.
you go to the best school. That's still no guarantee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that instability causes a lot of anxiety, and I think understanding that and accepting that definitely would help a lot of people cope with that.
Yeah.
Understanding that that's normal to feel that way. So I guess.
Yeah, you needed it. So were you thinking of going into a career in psychology, or was it going to be music?
No, I knew, you know, I think around my junior year, I decided I'm going to finish, I'm going to get my degree. But at that point I had already been pretty heavy into, at the time it was like hip hop. I was producing, you know, for hip hop artists locally in Tallahassee, and I started performing again, and I really, really enjoyed it. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed performing, and I think I decided around then that I was going to figure it out. But definitely, I steered my shit back onto that course of being a musician. But
was your sound kind of similar for the hip hop artists, like what you're doing now? Or?
No. I was sampling soul beats. I was like, you know, a baby Kanye.
Yeah.
I was just trying to I was just trying to emulate what I've always loved Pharrell, Kanye, you know, Tribe, Called Quest. And I wanted to emulate that at first because I was so limited that in my skill set that's kind of all I was able to do, is just sample beats, put drums under them. But I think I needed to go through that because there's a lot of techniques that you can then apply to whatever you want to do later on. But yeah, it was totally different.
Yeah. What techniques transfer?
Just so I would take acapellas from some of my favorite verses, and I would challenge myself to produce a new beat for them.
Okay.
And that then translated into, you know, remixing other people's work, which then translated into learning how to harmonize vocals differently, which then translate into like, you know, all these different layers that you understand but the source came from just, you know, rearrangement and recomposing things, which is straight from hip hop. Okay. You take a sample, deconstruct it, build something new out of it. So
now, was your stuff like that also, and when you were performing? Like a sample base?
Which stuff?
Was it the stuff you were doing for your own performances?
Now?
No, at that time.
Then. Yeah. I wasn't really performing anything. Okay. I never really considered myself an artist at that time. I was just producing for other people. Okay. And I would just give them beats and I think I would perform and I would kind of DJ at the time. And I think around 2013 I started playing with the machine and doing the drums live, you know, and that kind of evolved into what I'm doing now. It was a very, very basic, you know, version of what I'm doing now. Okay.
How did it evolve? Was it from stuff you were listening to, and what was influencing you? Yeah,
I think understanding that, I think I was listening to Toro y Moi, and I realized that he wasn't scared of breaking out of the shell of being a producer. You know, this was after, you know, early Toro y Moi was doing the chill wave stuff where it was just like very like beat heavy. And then he started doing stuff with a band and he started opening up musically. And I remember thinking, wow, man, I want to do that. Like I want to go back to that, just performing and playing stuff live. And it also came with just getting better at whatever I was doing, you know, and giving myself the tools to be able to do that stuff, whatever I had in mind to do it live. And the final thing, which I think ties into the show that you came to, was the confidence to believe in yourself and decide that you want to perform a certain way, or you want to, I don't know. And that came with meeting Chargo.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
When did you meet them?
I met them in 2013. Okay. And I met them at South by Southwest. And I remember we were on a rooftop just at this party.
Yeah.
And I'm a homebody. I'm a hermit. So I was in a corner on my phone. And they're the opposite. So they were just like dancing on the couch and just being, and we met through a mutual friend. And I remember they were just like, he's nerdy. That's your friend? He's nerdy. And we ended up meeting up the next day, and we just, something clicked. And then a year later, I moved to New York across the street from them.
Oh, okay.
It's by chance.
Yeah. Okay.
And the more we worked together, I think they invited me to, quote unquote, DJ one of their shows. Mm-hmm. And during rehearsals, we realized we had this like weird chemistry.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that brought me out of my shell and were like, yo, you're not trash. Stop thinking you're trash.
Yeah.
And, just trust yourself, trust your craft, and, continue to get better, but don't think any less of yourself. Mm-hmm. And that helped a lot.
Okay. Were you like sort of waiting for, I got to get to a certain level?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I can have this confidence.
For sure. And that comes with the reference. Again, I grew up in this household where, I had all-time greats come over for dinner just to like chill.
Yeah.
And then they would just fiddle and make some of the most incredible music you'll ever hear. So that as your reference point already, I could, if I were to say that, oh, I'm dope, I would be lying because I know what dope is, So I think that was a blessing, but it also, I always was very self-conscious and self-aware in the sense that I knew that I wanted to get to a certain point, and I knew I wanted to come correct when I finally, I guess, like came out of my cocoon, and that stifled me in a sense because I don't know, I just had this crazy high bar that I wanted to reach, and I'm still working to get there, but I think it's okay to let other people see your evolution as well. I can't just lock myself away for 15 years until I feel like I'm
There's
not
a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
You're waiting for that perfect moment, which never actually comes and just holds you back.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, did any of the, say, the limitations serve you well? Like if you don't know everything?
Maybe. I don't know. I really, really, really respect music. Mm-hmm. And I respect the craft so much that I know that the more tools I have, the better I can become. Mm-hmm. And I feel like saying, oh, well, I'm limited in this regard. Yeah. So that's allowed me to be more free and whatnot. And I've had people tell me that, but I honestly can't ever deny the fact that the more I learn, the more I know will be for the better.
Yeah.
So I think my limitations are just motivation, just to keep learning. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't think limitations are necessarily, I think knowledge is definitely power. Yeah. But yeah, maybe perspective wise, maybe not knowing how to do something traditionally has just forced me to figure it out on the fly, and as a result, something unique might come along the way, But I definitely,
that's probably the better word,
right?
Not knowing it traditionally,
right. But I definitely believe that you got to learn the rules before you break them. That's
Okay. So what were you listening to that changed your sound besides, I'm going to say his name, Toriyama?
Yeah, Toriyama. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was listening. I was listening to Flying Lotus. I was listening to all that Brain Feeder stuff. I was listening to. I got really heavy into SoundCloud, and I was just listening to a bunch of random music that I didn't even know people were into. And it was really cool to see other people. I don't know. There was this whole community I didn't know about. Mm-hmm. There was this whole sound that I didn't know people were into. And it kind of also allowed me to be cool with making whatever I wanted. Because, knowing that other people might be into the most random things will also give you confidence to be like, all right, I don't have to put myself in this box to get where I need to be. I can just be myself. Hopefully people react accordingly. But
with your dad's jazz background, does the jazz come in as influence for you? Like I was thinking of when I saw your performance, like some of Miles's fusion stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That was my first love, was jazz. And I just love the language. I love the musical language of jazz. I love obviously like the chords and the melodies and the progressions and whatnot, but I also just love the feel of jazz, and I love the freedom that jazz not only allows but promotes. Jazz really promotes pushing forward. And so I think the spirit of jazz really inspires me. But specifically musically, I think jazz definitely, even instrumentally, I'm always trying to have my friends play trumpet or saxophone or and jazz drumming is like it for me. That's the end all be all of like dopeness for me, is jazz drumming. So for sure, it influences me.
And when you're going to work with someone, like, how do you know it's the right fit? Like, what are you looking for in an artist to collaborate with? Or if they come to you for a track, what you think they're looking for? They see in you.
I'm still getting used to people coming to me and wanting me to, produce the way I produce. That's still kind of wild to me that someone is just like, yo, I want your sound. That's still crazy to me because I'm still tinkering away at my own sound. But as far as collaborating with people, I think the best experiences I've had as far as collaborating goes, it's always with people who are just as open as I am, as far as just trusting each other and just saying, yo, do you. Do your thing. I'm not even going to give you direction as far as how to play something or what to play. Just do whatever you want to do. And I think people who are open to that, that's when it works. People who just trust in themselves and then trust me, that's when it works best. Because I've had instances where people can't do that. They need direction and they're just like, tell me what to do, man. I don't know what. And I think that, I appreciate that they trust me enough, but at the same time, it's not a pure collaboration if I'm like directing you the whole time, So I think just that freedom, that trust is when it works.
Is that what you're getting from Charga?
Yeah, always. They'll send me stuff and they just tell me, all right, figure it out, man. Do whatever you want to do. And a lot of the new stuff, a lot of the new project that we've been working on we went to Toronto and we went into a studio for a week for like 12 hours a day and just played around and tinkered. And they would basically just go into the studio, record for like 3 hours, and they would go get lunch and they'd just be like, all right, do whatever you want. And I would just be in there by myself for 3 hours, and then I'd come back and we'd put it all together. So that's how it started. And now we're kind of on the tail end of finishing the project, and it's still that same spirit. They'll send me something and they're just like, hey, we just recorded this, make it a song. Or I'll send them a beat or just like this little loop, and I'll send it to them and they'll just turn it into this beautiful, like flowery, piece. And I think that's why it works. And that's how it works on stage too. I think that's why I enjoy playing with them so much, is they trust everyone on stage to just do them,
And when's that supposed to come out? You have a date yet? Or?
The project, it doesn't have a date yet. We're finishing up the last song, basically, and then mixing, and then sooner than later. Like, we really want to finish that pretty soon. That's number one on the priority list.
Now, is it going to be similar in sound to Dose? Did I say that right?
Dose, yeah. So Dose was...
Your album.
Yeah, that was kind of... Dose was almost a collection of... Dose was the first time that I felt comfortable sharing an entire project and saying, this is me, this is my sound. So it was still very, very raw in the sense that it didn't really have a focus. It was just me chiseling away at my own, inner sound. And I was lucky enough to have really, really talented musicians kind of help me put it all together.
Yeah.
So I think this album is way more focused. It's like we knew exactly what we want out of it, and we just executed. And it's not as much guessing. It's just doing what we want to do.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and it's way more Chargo than it is. Me. It's I'm helping them, but it is totally it's their vision.
Yeah.
It's their sound. It's their thumbprint, which is cool.
Okay. You working on another album after you finish with the Chargo?
Yeah, I'm simultaneously working on the follow up to Dose, which is Late Bloom, and it's the same idea. It's just collaborations with different people, but it's way more. Again, it's focused. So I'm excited to share that, and all the stuff from the show is from that.
Oh, that's from
that project.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Sure. And it'll be the same musicians, or will just be you mainly for instrumentation?
A lot of it is me, but there is definitely instrumentation wise. Like I can't play the trumpet, like I can't play the saxophone. So there's amazing musicians playing all the stuff that requires amazing musicians. But most of it, it's just me just tinkering and figuring it out as I go.
So I've seen in several interviews you said Debussy as an influence of yours. How did that come about?
That was in
addition to the jazz.
That was, so my dad knows exactly what I'm into as far as sonically, and just there's very specific chords and progressions that I just, for whatever reason, they click inside me. And when I was pretty young, my dad was like, okay, you like this song? Check this stuff out. And that's that. My dad is this infinite well of information, and he is a true student of music. And he gave me a bunch of books. He gave me a bunch of CDs, and he said, check all this stuff out. I really think you'd be into like French impressionistic, classical music. And he was totally right. And it's weird. I don't get to geek out about that stuff with many people, but
you can geek out to it. What is it about him that
it's just
wanted to?
Well, just impressionist music in general is just the idea of not having a central tone, like not having, it's very free, and it sounds like it's floating because just, theoretically it is. There's no, there's only two, the whole tone scale, there's only like two variations of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So and it's just, you could play the scale infinitely, and you could start anywhere, and there's no start note and no end note. Just if you look on a piano, it's just a whole tone each time, which is, you skip. A piano is basically from each key, it's a quarter tone or a half tone, and a whole tone is every other key. Okay. So if you go up every other key, starting anywhere, it's this infinite loop of sound that has no beginning and end. That's like beautiful to me, not being bound by a scale or whatnot. So, and then Debussy and Satie, like they scored my entire college experience, just like all the late night studying, all that stuff. But also, I would genuinely I'd be in my car, like blasting, I
love that.
I'd be blasting Debussy. Because it just speaks to me.
Yeah. Were there any works in particular by them?
So there's there's like 5 movements, and together they're called Children's Corner, and that's by Debussy. There is obviously, like, Clair de Lune was the first song from Debussy that I got into, and that's like his popular. Like, if you hear Debussy, that's what you've heard. And then there's like La Mar, which is the sea or the ocean. That's a set of movements as well. I think those right now are like my favorites. And then Just a quick side note. Janelle Monáe had, during the Arc Android album, she had this song that ended with Claire de Lune, like her song like morphed into Claire de Lune, and I instantly became a fan. I was like, all right, cool, you can do no wrong, like ever. You can do whatever you want, and I'm always going to be a fan just for that. So
I know when you sample him, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'll show you after.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was Debussy until like I knew it sounded so familiar.
Yeah.
Because then it's in a different key and everything. Okay. And the way she does it is her song kind of morphs into it and then morphs out of it.
Yeah.
But when I figured it out, I was just like blown away. It's like, I don't know whose decision it was, but I'm going to pretend like it was hers, and I'm going to be in love with her forever for it.
I'm going to fan out forever.
Exactly.
And for Satie, what would you recommend?
So the like number one way to get into Satie is like the gymnopsies. So gymnopsie, I guess is how you would pronounce it. But it's 3 movements, and if you hear them, it's the most simple things ever, and they're instantly recognizable. You've probably turned on Pandora to like the chill piano music, and then it's come up. But yeah, and he has a bunch of other works that are for orchestra, but I've always like his solo piano stuff is amazing. But yeah, man, classical music, I just geek.
That's the one music like I listen to it, but it doesn't touch me. Like I like chamber music probably more than like the full orchestra thing. But
and I get it. It's a very, very like specific sound, and I think I don't know what it is about it. It's one of those things that you can't really explain. Yeah. It's just, it's like anything. Some people connect to certain things, some people don't.
You just feel it.
Yeah.
How does it manifest in your music?
Influence. I think theory-wise, maybe just because when my dad gave me the CDs, he also gave me a bunch of books, and like those composers. They understood theory so well that they could take the most simple chord progression or the most simple melody and make it the most beautiful thing you've ever heard just through theory, because they understood the purpose of each note, of each voice. Okay. They could take 3 instruments and make this like lavish thing that for me would take like 10 cents, but a whole string orchestra. Yeah. But they just understand the purpose and the specific function of every little aspect of music. And I think that's something that I'm still trying to figure out, and something that I'm still trying to incorporate. But I think it's just the theory behind classical music, more so than instrumentation. I mean, I guess Chargo strings, people are going to think classical, but that's as far as it goes, as far as like sonically. I think it's just theoretically.
Okay. And what was it about Pharrell? And you mentioned Kanye also.
Yeah, man. Pharrell, I think Pharrell and the Neptunes, so Pharrell and Chad Hugo, the way that they pushed music but still made it popular, like they produced for like Britney Spears, man, and like Justin Timberlake and NSYNC, and
you can't sleep when I'm a slave for you.
No, you can't.
As soon as that comes on,
like bro, don't get me started. Pharrell and Chad Hugo they're geniuses in my eyes, because they really took popular music and were so. Their intent was to push it forward. Like that's their whole mindset. Like, we want to use sounds that have never been used before. We want to take these very traditional structures as far as songs go, like hook, or verse, hook, verse, bridge, hook, but make it feel like it's like some alien music. Like that was their whole thing. Is that they wanted to turn the whole music industry on its head and prove that you could still make really, really dope sounding stuff and chart number 1, and that's so dope to me. Yeah, so dope to me, especially when now a lot of nostalgia is so powerful that I feel like it's really easy to just pull on those nostalgic strings to make music now. Like, you turn on the radio 5 years ago, it was all 70s inspired, like funk stuff. You turn on the radio like 3 years ago, it was all like, funk and disco inspired. And then now it's like you hear the 90s are coming back. And Pharrell and Chad, they were never into that. They would draw, obviously, because Pharrell is constantly influenced by the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. But their whole mentality was, okay, we're going to draw from that, but we want to present it in a way that's never been heard before. We're not going to just rip the sound just because it's familiar and people could be like, oh, I know that. I like that. They were going to make you decide whether or not you liked it on your own, not through nostalgia. So, man, like the drop it like it's hot beat was like all the stuff they did with clips and like the stuff that they did like with Glas and man,
that first Glas album.
Yeah. The whole they made Justin Timberlake's first album like so dope to me. Like I still that first track on Justified, like.
And you knew their sound, like, oh, that's the Neptune.
Oh yeah. No. It was never them and Timbaland. Like exactly who produced it. The first, and it also helps that they would always start songs with bam, 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 bam. They would just like repeat the first note 4 times before the beginning of every song. But yeah, man, those guys they were the first pop musicians that I really, really looked up to, and Kanye was the first hip hop artist. Kanye and Tribe Called Quest, because I never really listened to hip hop until I was like 15 or 16. And it was Kanye. I heard Late Registration, and to me, what John Bryan did with Kanye and all the string stuff, like all the arrangements he did, and that like won me over. I was sold. And then Tribe, obviously, like all the jazz influence that they incorporated. Okay. So they were my gateway into hip hop.
Okay,
so that's
why. Good gateways.
Yeah. I think for sure.
Good. So we're next. You got your next solo, the Chargo. What is the rest of the year looking like?
Just finishing those projects, man. It's really hard. It's really easy to begin things and start things, but it's so hard to finish because you're constantly. It's so easy to be distracted, So I'm just really focusing on finishing the girls' project, my project, and then performing as much as I can. Because I really haven't performed at all this year just because I've been in that studio mode.
Yeah.
All last year I was performing with Chargo like every week, like everywhere. And that was cool. But I didn't write any new music. I didn't record any new music. So this is the opposite. I'm trying to record and write and finish things and then hopefully perform it. Okay. Last night was or I guess whenever the show was 2 nights ago, that was the first time I ever performed that music.
Okay.
So it was cool.
You would not have guessed.
No.
See what rehearsal does? Right?
Yeah, right? No, man. You see what like really good musicians helping me out does? Make me look so good. I'm out here like pressing 3 notes and like playing a little bit of drum machine. Francesco's killing it on the drums. And I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm here pressing these buttons. But no.
So what's the best way people online to check you out?
So it's Soft Glass on everything. It's SOFTGLAS, and on Twitter and Instagram and SoundCloud and iTunes, Spotify, like all that stuff.
Okay.
And Instagram and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been getting into photography lately, and I guess that's the platform for that is Instagram and VSCO and all that stuff. So yeah, just Soft Glass on everything.
Okay, great, man. And I don't want to mess up his name, your dad's name, since we've referenced him.
Oh, Gonzalo. Gonzalo Rubalcaba.
Okay. Gonzalo Rubalcaba?
Rubalcaba. Yeah, it's very long and very complicated. Okay. This was like before the internet when it was just like, make your name very easy to spell. Yeah, Gonzalo Rubalcaba.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
You said it better than I ever could.
I hope so.
I know.
I use my dad.
Well, thank you, man.
Thank you, bro. Seriously, thank
wonderful.
you. I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to people and not just, I don't know, it's so easy to just be like, oh, talk about your latest project.
Yeah.
That's cool. Who are your influences? Cool. All right, we're done. Like,
Okay.
I appreciate we talking about like the psychology of the musician.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, and I got to nerd out about classical music, which is I never, ever get to do. I always try to sneak it into interviews and like just get a feeler and see if it'll cash, but usually it's just like, oh, cool. So I appreciate you.
Sure. I try to look at it like, if you ask fresh questions, you get fresh answers.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. It's appreciated.
Sure. Anytime, man.
Super appreciated, man.
I wish you the best.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
And there you have it. 2 from today's guest, Soft Glas. You just heard Yosi, and before that, Refrain, Joao Gonzalez. Great conversation. Again, his website is softglass.com, and that's glass with 1 S. Also, subscribe to his Instagram where you can see how Instagram should be done. He is also a photographer. Soft Glas at Instagram. As for me, you can find me online several places. TalkMusicTalk.com for more information on the podcast. Also, thisisboyce.com. I am a novelist, I am a singer, I am a songwriter, and you can check out my books and music there. I am also on Instagram at thisisboyce, and Boyce is spelled B-O-I-C-E. I hope you enjoyed episode number 90 with Soft Glas. Make sure you download the free app, Talk Music Talk, for iPhone and Android, wherever you get your apps. After you subscribe, leave a rating and or review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Till next time, and there will be a next time. This one's for you, Liz.